Landlord in Downing Street, the Rachel Reeves rental license debacle. Here's a detailed breakdown of the potential consequences that Chancellor Rachel Reeves could face in the house rent saga involving her London property, as well as the political dynamics at play. What happened? Rachel Reeves publicly admitted she rented out her family home in Dulwich, London, without obtaining the required selective license from Southwark Council. The property was advertised for about £3,200 a month. Her letting agency, Harvey and Wheeler, admitted an oversight. They had offered to apply for the license, but never did so properly. The issue was first reported by the press, and then raised in correspondence with Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Independent Advisor on Ministerial Standards. Legal and regulatory consequences. 1. Rent Repayment Order, RRO. Because the letting occurred without the required license, tenants, or the council, may apply to a first-tier tribunal for a rent repayment order. This means Reeves could be required to repay part or all of the rent collected. Reports suggest the amount could exceed $38,000, $41,000. 2. Fine or civil penalty. Under the local licensing regime, a landlord who rents out a property without the required license may face prosecution or a civil penalty, in some cases up to £30,000. Also, the council could flag the landlord as rogue in a public database. 3. Mortgage, finance, terms, risks. There is speculation, reported, that her property's mortgage might have terms restricting letting unless notified or approved. If so, this could trigger contractual breaches or additional liabilities. 4. Ethics, Ministerial Code, implications. As a minister, Reeves is under the Ministerial Code. Though the Prime Minister has judged that no further investigation is required due to her prompt action, there remains reputational risk. If found to have misled Parliament or failed to act with due diligence, there could be calls for further inquiry or disciplinary action. Political tantipoin chauki twites. Reputational consequences. Credibility and public trust. For a chancellor who has promoted housing standards measures, including licensing schemes, this lapse undermines her authority and moral high ground. Opposition pressure. The Conservative Party has seized on this, calling for her resignation and a full investigation. Budget timing. The incident hits ahead of her upcoming budget announcement, potentially distracting from or weakening her policy agenda. Internal government risk. While the PM has backed her, further adverse findings or delays could strain the collective responsibility of the cabinet, or feed into perceptions of government misconduct or inconsistency. What could happen next? Council action. Southwark Council could decide to issue a civil penalty or formal enforcement action. The scale may depend on whether the license has now been secured and how proactively Reeves responds. Tribunal RRRO. The tenants or the council may apply for a rent repayment order. Depending on what is awarded, Reeves may have to repay the rent, or a portion of it. Political fallout. If further evidence emerges, e.g., emails showing awareness, calls for investigation or resignation might intensify. Alternatively, if managed carefully, the issue may be contained. Policy implications. This could affect her credibility when enforcing or proposing housing landlord regulation, possibly weakening her hand or giving critics ammunition. Mitigating factors. Reeves apologized promptly, acknowledged the mistake, and began the license application without delay. Letting agency admitted fault. This may reduce perceived negligence on her part, though legally the landlord still bears responsibility. The Prime Minister and Standards Advisor have already decided that no formal investigation is necessary at this point. Bottom line, While Rachel Reeves is not yet facing formal enforcement or criminal charges, the legal, financial, and reputational risks are very real. She could be required to repay tens of thousands in rent. She could be fined or listed as a non-compliant landlord. Her credibility on housing policy is damaged. Political pressure remains, and this could affect her portfolio and the broader government standing.